Hello, ODAC fans, and welcome to the next edition of our conversations here on ODAConline.com. My name is JJ Nuckloff. I'm the Associate Commissioner with the Old Dominion Athletic Conference. And today we've got a little bit of a different interview for you as we go a little bit behind the scenes, if you will. And we talk with University of Lynchburg Sports Information Director Mark Robertson. Mark, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, JJ. How are you?
Good. I see you've got the best backdrop we've had so far down there at your house at Smith Mountain Lake. How's the weather out there right now on the lake?
Yeah, pretty lucky. Mid 80s, a little bit of cloud cover, so pretty much the perfect day to work from the dock. So yeah,
It's a great setting to be in. I wish we all had something like that. I've got a deck I could go out on, but not the same. And my lake is a little bit buggy, so it doesn't quite work the same. But when we talk about being able to do work and do great work, the reason why we're talking to you, not just because you're a great source for information, is because you just earned an Excellence in Communications Award from the United States Track and Field and Cross Country Coaches Association. So that comes out to USTFCCCA for those of you scoring at home. But Mark, talk to us a little bit about that award and just what it means to you to be recognized for doing such a nice job there at Lynchburg.
yeah. Well, first off, I was absolutely floored. First at getting the recognition, but secondly, and maybe more so at the reaction from colleagues, friends, family. I mean, my phone's been blowing up. I told a friend the other day, you'd think I'd won a Pulitzer the way that people were reacting. But it's been really nice to be recognized for that. Obviously, I think it has the most to do with the success of Lynchburg's track and field program. I'm lucky to have a lot of successes to write about, a lot of great stories. We had 4 national qualifiers this year, 2 in indoor track, who unfortunately didn't get to compete because of the pandemic, and 2 in cross country. So obviously all those successes equals some great coverage, some great stories to tell. And I'm happy to be able to do that. And just I was absolutely amazed to see it come to fruition with a national award. I never thought that was in the cards.
Let's talk a little bit about the people that you work with there that help to make it possible there for you, because obviously your name is on the award and nothing taken away from the great work that you do, but you've got a couple individuals also there that work with you in that department that help really bring the message out there for Lynchburg. So talk a little bit about your group there that you work with.
Yeah, so we're really lucky. We've got a 3-person department at Lynchburg, and if you know our AD, John Waters, he really puts a lot of emphasis on our digital media efforts. So we have a full-time video and social media guy, and Joe Hutzler, who does top-notch work. I don't think anybody in Division III rivals his work ethic or the quality of work that Joe puts out on a daily basis. So that's one load off of my shoulders, and having somebody who handles webcasting and social pretty much full-time. And then we've got a great grad assistant in Mark Weaver, who actually ran track at Susquehanna. So he knows the sport. He writes the vast majority of the recaps from meets and everything. Kind of frees us up to do a lot of the feature work and stuff like that I really enjoy doing.
Before we talk to Mark a little bit more, let's hear a word from one of our sponsors.
With over 100 local offices, Virginia Farm Bureau agents are part of your community. If you want insurance from a company that knows you, get to know us.
Mark, we want to take some time to thank Virginia Farm Bureau Insurance, if I don't roll over my words, as they're one of our main corporate sponsors here in the ODAC. They give a lot to us for championship exposure and whatnot, and running our championships, but their main sponsorships are with the Scholar Athlete Awards for each of our 24 sports. So we thank them very much. And those Scholar Athlete Awards are sports information, athletic communications personnel driven. They follow the academic All-America process, and talk a little bit about taking pride in doing things like that where you can directly impact some of the things that the student athletes receive in terms of awards and recognition.
Right. Well, like you said, that's one of the awards that SIDs are responsible for nominating, and that's another thing that we really try to take seriously at Lynchburg. We preach student athlete experience all the time, JJ, and I think doing your best, doing due diligence on nominations to get those student athletes recognized is just living out that promise. So the things that I do with nominations is I always make sure that I sit down with a student athlete, or in this case, have a phone call or a little video chat with them and go over their resume, talk about what they've done off the field or track or course, and talk about what kind of strengths we can highlight with them in terms of volunteer work, internships, research, stuff that doesn't just highlight their exploits on the track, because everybody everybody who's nominated for these things excels in his or her sport. So we try to find different ways for the nominations to stand out, and I think that really highlights how well-rounded a lot of our student athletes are.
Let's talk a little bit about the professional now too, because you're talking about some of the things that you do there with the nominations and working with the student athletes. A lot of people may not know, unless you work in media or you work directly with the programs, what sports information, what athletic communications people do. So talk a little bit about the job and also what your background was to kind of bring you to this point to where you can be so proficient with what you're doing at Lynchburg.
Okay. Well, I think how I got here is a pretty neat story. I'm a Roanoke native. I only applied to one college in Virginia. I really wanted to live out that dream of playing college baseball, so I was looking at D3s all over the East Coast, and Emory and Henry really stood out to me as a place. It was the faculty that sold me. I loved the individual attention that faculty there gave me, plus the ability to be a part of a collegiate baseball program. And so I chose E&H, and the rest is kind of history. When I got to campus, I started working for Nathan Graybeal, the former SID there, and Nathan had me taking photos and help spot with stats and write some recaps, stuff like that. That was kind of already in my skill set. I'd been a student journalist at a couple publications like the Roanoke Times, and then when Joe Matthews got to Emory and Henry, he really was willing to lay a lot more responsibility on me in the sports information office. So I did everything from recaps, photos, stats for every home football game and some other sports as well. And I don't think I would have gotten that experience if I hadn't chosen, the small school Division III approach, where they really encourage you to get involved. So I looked at some GA grad assistant opportunities after I graduated, and I decided to chase the journalism dream instead. So I worked for a couple newspapers, and really, that work helped me refine my writing skills, which I think are the most important thing that we bring to the table, is the ability to communicate what our student athletes do, how special their experiences are, clearly, concisely, and with a point, to help further the brand with stories that matter about people who matter to what we do. So that brought me to Lynchburg, and it just kind of all the pieces fell in. And in 2017, I joined the staff at the University of Lynchburg, and the rest is kind of history. It was a lot of learning on the fly, relearning how to stat things, doing stats and game day ops for sports that I never had before. I mean, we didn't have field hockey or lacrosse at E&H, so those, I was familiar with lacrosse pretty well, just from having friends who played and covering it enough. But there was definitely a learning curve and kind of figuring out how to get our priorities in the right place. And I was lucky to have somebody like Joe with his work ethic, and mentors like Joe Matthews at E&H, and you and Brian at Washington and Lee, and Phil at Randolph. I could keep going on about all the SIDs in the ODAC and how tight-knit that group is, and how much we really help each other. But I think this year was when we finally hit our stride. Joe Hutzler has matured as the LHSN brand has grown, and he's really gotten his work down to a science. And Mark Weaver came in this year and hit the ground running as a grad assistant, and really made things. It paved the path for us to do a really tremendous job in highlighting student athlete experience. And I think that kind of all culminated with the pandemic, and how we've been able to kind of charge through losing our spring seasons and the heartbreak that was there, but still sell Lynchburg as a place that student athletes feel involved. They want to be there. And, last night, on Wednesday night, we had our student athlete orientation session, the part just for athletes. And we had almost 300 people on our 3 sessions. And you could just tell that there's some excitement about coming into Lynchburg. And although we don't know what the college athletics world is going to look like post COVID-19 or during COVID-19, I think we've built something that really lasts here.
Well, the one thing you left out of there, though, is that you're the greatest bullpen catcher in ODAC history. That's a huge thing to put in there.
Yeah, I was the ODAC bullpen catcher of the year in both 2010 and 2011. That's a fake award that I made up and I now bestow on somebody each season. I also would like to say that I led the league in cage bombs. That's home runs hit in the batting cage.
Good for you, man. Well done. Well, I mean, in the sense of awards and whatnot, on behalf of the ODAC office, your colleagues, and a colleague myself, and a friend of yours, congratulations on the recognition, my friend.
Oh, well, thanks, JJ. Like I said, it's been incredible, but wouldn't be here without people like you and the other great SIDs in the league and coaches in the league. I mean, it's such a supportive place. So.
Well, Mark, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Folks, that was Mark Robertson at the University of Lynchburg. He's their sports information director, earning the Excellence in Communications Award from the USTFCCCA. Maybe I have an extra C in there or not. I'll have to look at it. But track and field is what he got that for, from doing an outstanding job with he and his colleagues there at the University of Lynchburg. This won't be the only interview we have for you this week here, as we still have some more planned, even though this is Thursday of the week, and we'll get this one up here later today. But we plan to talk with Hannah Hull from Virginia Wesleyan. She was the Academic All-American of the Year for softball. So not just a first-team Academic All-American, but of the year for Division III for softball, leading the way. So we'll talk with her and may talk with her head coach, Brandon Elliott, there as well. But until we get to that point, stay tuned for our next episode.